Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Johnson. You're now tuned in to KJ Live. Today's guest on the show is a incredibly legendary around these parts of Southern California. He was, I believe, a three-time All-American in volleyball at Csun, and at the same time, he was playing quarterback for Csun. He's also known as UCLA Bruins forward guard Jake Kyman's dad. I'm proud, very proud to welcome to the show, Coley. Kyman is in the building. Coley, what's happening, man?
How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing.
Appreciate you having me on.
Hey, I'm doing great. Excited about last night's win. What time did you go to bed last night, man?
East Coast time, probably about 4:15. I was trying to get through all the texts and the tweets and just the love from so many people all over Southern California and the country, for that matter. Just loving your Bruins right now and the way they're playing and just the team, and it's just it's you've been here before. It's magical right now, is what it is.
No, it's magical. Everything from probably the energy when you walk into the lobby of the hotel. You probably can kind of feel it there. And I remember playing in the Elite Eight when I was 1997. We ended up losing to Minnesota, but it was just such a magical time. Talk about how this is. So this last year we didn't have March Madness, and so it got kind of taken away from us. This year we had it. You know, COVID had the ups and downs of COVID. I guess my question is, does it resonate more to you as a dad and you and Michelle as parents this year, this Elite Eight, this tournament run?
It does, and I think the biggest thing is just being grateful. You know, through all our lives, nothing like this has ever happened, and I really hope that it never does again. That something can be taken away so fast. I mean, injuries and all of that, we know that, but something like this to be taken away from everyone, from the men, the women. About to go to their March Madness run. He's a freshman last year. He's playing great. We're looking really good as a team. But just to be really just thankful and grateful that they are playing, and even more so that we're allowed to sit in the stands and watch our son and his teammates, you know, compete. And that's, again, just it's such an exciting time. And around the city here in Indianapolis, from last week to this week, I think that's the biggest thing that I have taken away is just so much gratefulness from so many people, fans, parents, just everyone in general, just to be able to watch and see these young men compete and live out their dreams.
Yeah, I mean, it resonates with me because I have a son, as you know, William. He's right back there.
Of
He's at
course.
the University of Oregon, and you know they've had ups and downs there too. They just lost last night, and just being on the phone with him last night and kind of talking about it, it was a sense of accomplishment, and that he was talking with a lot of pride about his journey at Oregon, and there was some closure there. But I was just really proud of just him sticking it out. I mean, with everything that happened last year, I mean, as a young man, you could kind of lose it. You lose your head a little bit. But talk about what you guys did throughout, the emotional, the support that you provided for Jake.
Well, March 12th, Michelle and I were in the car driving to Las Vegas to go to that first quarterfinal game. We were actually about a half hour out of Orange County because they were playing that night. Got the text that we turned around, tears. 2 days later, March 14th, Jake was back home living with us, and he didn't go back to UCLA till September. And it was just, the journey for him of just continuing to grind, to get better, to believe in what he wanted to do as an athlete. But just also the love of our family. The four of us got to be together. We got to wake up every day. We got to live in the same house, which is pretty unprecedented for a college kid coming back for 6 months to be with his brother and his mom and dad. So it was really a sad time in general for the world, but it was also a great time, at least for our family. And I know a lot of others that I've talked to, where we got to spend some real quality time with each of us and really talk about goals and what each of them want to do with basketball, after basketball, and really just having a lot of love. And, I'm very fortunate and grateful to have the boys and my wife that I do have. And we try to do everything we can together when we have that chance. And we got to do more together. And it was a really cool opportunity for us. And the other thing is, we'll probably have this conversation in another 4 or 5 years with my younger one. But, he got to get up every day at 6 a.m. with Jake. He got to go to the park
Nice.
when things were closed and there was one rim we found, and
Mm-hmm.
he's getting up, he's running the beaches, he was doing
Yeah.
plyometrics, and not many at the time, he was 13, not many 13-year-olds are getting to understand what it really takes to get there, and this to have an older brother. I didn't have to drive like I normally do. He would get up in the morning and, hey, the burrito's in the fridge, put it in the microwave. I got another hour before I got to get to work, bud. And so he got to live with his brother and do that. And so it was really cool to see them to bond, and for him to help his brother in his journey without really realizing he was helping him.
Absolutely, absolutely. The silver lining of the quarantine. Coley, let me ask you this: do your kids know how legendary of an athlete that you were out here in this LA streets, bruh?
Well,
Do they know?
I think they know, but they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. I try to tell them, you're in the Hall of Fame, but oh, you play volleyball. That's what
Oh,
they
come
told me.
on.
Like, oh, I'm like, come on, it's the same thing. But no, it's our house is a house of love and heckling. So we're competitors to the
Sure.
bone, all four of us. So if you're going to play a card game, we're going to play any kind of a game that we do, a board game. You don't want to lose in
Right.
our house,
Right.
because you're going to hear about it for the next 10 to 20 years.
Yeah. It was
And so
yeah. It's the same way in the Johnson household growing up.
I would assume so.
I
Yeah.
mean, come on, come on. You
Yeah.
can't let people win, and we're always trying to win at everything from indoor Nerf basketball to the wiffle ball games
Yep.
outside in front of the garage. I mean, we used to do it all. Have mini Olympics. My dad was real creative and imaginative when it came to doing stuff for us. I want to stay on the '90s and your athletic prowess. You were also a quarterback.
I got to play all 4 years at Cal State Northridge. I was very fortunate. I was recruited in football, volleyball as well. I actually committed to UNLV because I was a big Randall Cunningham fan. Used to go out to their camps, so I committed to play football there. And then in the spring of my senior year, I'd already fallen in love with volleyball, but things had just happened. I was top 5 in the country coming out of high school, and it was like just I made the right decision to go to Northridge to play volleyball.
Yeah,
They had never made it to the postseason. In all 4 years, we were top 5 in the country.
yeah,
I didn't
and
like UCLA before this, as you know, but
yeah.
it's tough to lose in a national championship and then to have to put these colors on. But I have no
Yeah.
problem putting them on. But yeah, it was fun.
Can you give us some context on that '93 title game in Pauley Pavilion versus the Bruins? Who was on the other side? I mean, I know I'm reading up on it. It sounds like it was a pretty legendary game.
Yeah, well, it was a legendary game in the fact that we competed for almost 3 hours, which is a long
Yeah,
time. But they beat us up. It went 3 games, 3 straight. They beat us 3 straight, but it was a
yeah,
long, long match because
yeah,
we used to. It's a different game the way they do. We should side out. Only scored when you served back then. But they
yeah.
had 5 Olympians on that team.
That's what I
Five,
wanted to know. Yeah,
five of
yeah,
them.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like when you become an athlete, when back in '93, I'm devastated. It was May 8th, 1993. Like I don't remember when it was or anything, but we lost to a better team, and like that's hard to understand when you're young, but we would have had to play the perfect match and they would have had to play average. And we played really good. We played really good, but they played really good too. And when
Yeah.
they were just better than you, they played one of their best matches they could have, especially in the national championship. And we just came up short. But
Sure.
to be able to play in Pauley Pavilion in front of 10 or 12,000 people, I never thought I would be seeing my son do the same thing. And Michelle got to play volleyball there,
Yeah.
obviously win a national championship. She actually redshirted 1 year, but 3 of her 5 years ended in the national championship, 1 with a win and 2 with a loss. So
Wow.
her career at UCLA was pretty fantastic too.
Which leads me to my next question: when and where did you and Michelle meet?
We were coaching, be the equivalent of AAU basketball, club volleyball,
Okay.
and we actually met at LA University High School.
Uni. All right.
Yep. So she was actually helping out coaching a team. Just
What team was it? It wasn't Sunshine by
it
any
wasn't
chance, was it?
Sunshine. It was
Okay.
called, which Sunshine wasn't around at that point, but it
Okay.
was called West Side Volleyball Club.
Okay. Okay.
And
Got it.
in
Got it.
fact, Jared Elliott, who's the head coach at the University of Texas,
Yeah.
he actually ran it with Tim Jensen, who was the coach at Pepperdine Goose, who was part of the
Wow.
Mamba Academy that
Wow.
helped that up. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
long story short is she was actually coaching. Jerry called me and said, "Hey, I need you to help out this weekend. One of the coaches are sick." I said, "Sure, no problem." And then we just walked across each other by the volleyball standards and we looked at each other. I kind of heckled her, not too shocking by me. And she was like, not really do I like this guy? Do I not? We met saw each other a couple days later, actually at Samo High School for a practice. So went from
Sure.
Uni to Samo on a
Yeah.
Friday night, and literally from that Friday night, we've been together for 27 years since. So
Wow, congratulations. I mean, you guys are an amazing couple. Whenever you post pictures, you can just feel the joy, the love, the happiness coming through. And
thank you.
you guys are inspirational. I'm not just telling you that. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Let me ask you this. So there's some times when Jake kind of had some ups and downs during the season. What type of things did you tell him as a parent that helped him or that you wanted to help him get through?
Well, that's a great question because I'll try to make it a quick answer, but
It's okay.
throughout the season, we just stay positive with him. Listen, I believe in Jake, and his dream is to play in the NBA, and
Hmm.
I believe he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I continue to tell him that every time, like, you got to get through this. You got to do the things that coach is asking, all of the stuff. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself.
Hmm.
And then recently, right before actually the Pac-12 championship, he had got to come home for one night, and Michelle and I had a couple hours sit down with him just to talk about the future, talk about this run in the postseason, because and I know that anything's possible in the postseason, and you
Sure.
don't get opportunities that often to do that. So we just talked about changing, accepting responsibility, and understanding what he needs to do better to
Yeah.
find himself on the floor. First and foremost, we will always say, be a great teammate. That's
Yep.
the most important thing. Because when he was at Santa Margarita and he's getting buckets and he's scoring, 30 points against Rancho Christian on the
Yeah.
road, and
Oh yeah.
we're beating them, all that's great. Jake, there's also guys on the bench there that are at practice with you that are cheering, and you don't see it when you're the star. But when you're sitting on the bench, you got to look at it from a different perspective. I was a backup quarterback. Michelle, sat the bench a couple years at UCLA.
Yeah.
That used to be standard when we grew up. You
Sure.
didn't just come in and expect to start as a
No.
freshman.
No.
You waited your turn, you worked your butt off. So we had that conversation with accepting responsibility and doing the things that matter to your team.
Yep.
Go get a rebound. Play some defense. Drive.
Yep.
You can shoot the ball, and everyone I think in the country knows he can shoot the ball.
Hmm.
And he can do a lot more than that, which he will be showing over the next few years. He can get to the basket. He's a
Yeah.
scorer.
Oh yeah.
But you can't do that if you're not going to go in for rebounds and be
Sure.
super aggressive. So we just, talked him through it. His dream has always been to be at UCLA. He doesn't want to be anywhere else but UCLA, and he wants to help UCLA win a national championship. And, that's what we kept telling him, and just stay in the course. Everyone says, trust the process, but then the process comes to people and they don't trust it. They panic.
Yeah.
And, he's a sophomore at UCLA, and
Yeah.
depending on what happens with the extra year of COVID, he has 2, maybe 3 more years left there. And he's just got to continue to trust the process. He's got to continue to get better on the things that he needs to get better at, and he's going to. He
Yeah.
already sent after that conversation, he goes
Yeah.
home. He's super excited. He's invigorated. He's fired up. And 22 seconds, he scored 5 points against Oregon State. Like, he was ready.
Oh yeah.
And the night he went home on that Monday before they shipped out, the next day he sent us a text that looked like a book with his agenda of what he's going to do in the off season already,
Yep.
what he's going to do, how many hills he's going to go, what kind of, working out with his trainer, all the extra stuff, so he can continue to get better and help his team get where they need to be.
Yep. And that's what it takes. It takes that awareness, that self-awareness as an athlete to be the best that you can be. Coley, one more question for you, and then I'll let you go. Really appreciate your time here today. What type of advice would you give parents that have kids that are aspiring to be college athletes?
First and foremost is to support them. I mean, I know that's a broad stroke of supporting them, but,
Like, what do you mean specifically?
well, accountability is one of them. Supporting them with their dreams by holding them accountable to do the things that they need to do. So extra work, schoolwork, being a good human being, all of those things they kind of sound like cliche-ish.
They're not.
But they're not. They're not. And
They're not.
they're really what really helps you on the court, on the field, whatever it may be. And so I would say is, don't push too hard, but push enough and be as involved as you can. And so, when Jake was a little kid, I was, I had that competitive spirit, and I pushed him sometimes a little too hard. But, every
Yeah.
time we had that talk is like, again, we're talking young athletes. Braden's 14 years old, and What do you want, Braden? So we'll sit down and have that conversation. Okay, so you want to play college basketball. Okay, so you want to play in the NBA. Okay, so it's Saturday at 8 in the morning. You don't want to get up. Hey, I don't want to get up either. But you told me you wanted to play in college, the NCAA. You said you wanted to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
I've already done that.
Yeah.
I played in the national championship. I got to play on the national team.
Yes, sir.
I don't need to get up at 8 o'clock and go to my trainer. I mean, I'll go work out because that's what I do, but that's your responsibility. So by holding your children accountable for what they want to do, not for what you want. It's not like I want him to play college basketball. I'm going to say get up at 8. But if he wants to play college basketball,
hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable.
Hold
them accountable and really like just showing love. I think a lot of people lose that. This is my son, he's got to go, or my daughter. And it's really just being there for them and showing support. And again, I've said it a few times, but the accountability is really big. If they're going to want these dreams and this is their goals and dreams, then, we're adults. They're kids. Like you can't expect a 13-year-old to always just get up at 5:30 in the morning to go work out. Like you might have to push him sometimes.
Right.
But again, his goal, his dream, you just push him and help him get there.
Yeah. And it's something you said that was really poignant. It was about character and treating people right. That's something that, you said it sounds like a cliche, but it's something that we all, as young, especially athletes, human beings, everyone should really embrace. I mean, it's like, it doesn't take much to be kind, or it doesn't take much to treat some, it really doesn't. And it took me a long time. Trust me, Coley, I'm not just, I was mean as they come, right? Yep. But I look back on my life and I look back on everything, and I wish that I had a different energy, that I could have plugged into something different instead of going along like this. But with my kids, I definitely am passing along the positive energy, the love mantra, because love definitely conquers all.
No doubt. It does.
Yo, tonight. Okay. So one more question. Since I got you, I got to keep you on.
Oh, you can keep me on as long as you want.
I got to talk about Michigan. I got to talk about the game. I got to talk about the game. I got to talk about the game. What you think about Michigan? What you think about Michigan, man?
Well, I think they're a really good team, and I, like being a 1 seed and being in the mighty Big Ten, but they're going to be a tough team for us. But so was Alabama, and so was BYU, and so was Michigan State, and all of these teams we played. But listen, they can do a lot of things the same, or I wouldn't say the same as Alabama. They're just not as athletic. They're not as long.
No.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't propose a problem for us. They've got some good shooters, but I'm going to tell you this: you saw what happened to Illinois. You saw what we did to Michigan State. You've seen some other Big Ten teams. We are going to get up in them on the defensive end. And so you can say you play this style, that style. They're big, they're small.
It don't matter.
Listen,
it don't matter. It don't matter.
It don't matter. And you've been through this, and you got to go through a run like this. Listen, our guys are playing with confidence and the belief. And when you have the confidence and belief, there's not a lot of things that can stop you.
No,
and we have the talent, even though a lot of people throughout the country all season long didn't think we had it. I mean, other than Jake, every kid on our team is a top 100 kid. Yeah. And that's a different IG live story.
Jake plays like a come on. I mean, give me a break. Like, you know what I mean? Jake plays like one. And to talk about the confidence that you see, it's a swag. Like, they know that they're going to win every game. When I see that in a crew, I get really excited. Last time I really saw that was the Howland years, Collison and all those guys, that when you just kind of knew, no matter if it's nip and tuck, we're getting down to a final possession situation. It was just like a comfort that came over me. Even after they hit that doggone 3-pointer yesterday.
Yeah.
I was on air. I was just like, holy crap. But even then, I'm watching the guys walk back to the bench. I'm just kind of, checking the temperature. Yep. And I didn't feel that just, oh, great, we got to play overtime. I was kind of like, come on, fellas. Okay, it's all right. Just stay positive.
And it looked like that in the arena too. So I'm watching the kids, come back. And again, that's something that would deflate most people. Like, we're winning. We're about to, oh my gosh, like that happened. And I looked at Michelle, we hugged, and I was like, this is March Madness.
Yes,
this
is
what I wanted, or I hoped my son would be a part of his whole life. And we're on the court or watching it live. So you just watch like you said, the swagger, like the way Tiger and Jaime just came back. It was like, we're going to win this. I mean, we just punched him in the mouth right from the get-go.
Absolutely.
But, those losses that we had, and I've heard Cronin, in his press conferences talk about it a lot, but those losses against Oregon, against Colorado, against USC, and maybe the hottest team in the country right now in Oregon State, were probably a benefit more than a hindrance now that we are where we are.
I agree.
We learned we don't want to lose like that.
Yeah.
And we learned what we needed to do to not lose like that. Make a free throw down the stretch. Look what David came in and did. David was amazing last night. I'm happy and proud of him.
Yeah.
The kid is just a stud, and he's just like Jake. He does what he needs to do. When the coach asks him, he's ready. Think about David and Jake. Forget Jake. Let's think about David for a second. He's a junior, comes in as a freshman, hurts his foot, tries to do that. Playing, not playing. Ask him to come in. He hits two of the biggest free throws of UCLA season, maybe in the last 5 or 10 years for UCLA.
Yeah, those are huge.
Huge. I mean,
those are huge.
Because if he doesn't make those or he makes one, we lose the game on that three.
Exactly.
Right? We lose the game on
That's
that
the
three.
point. Yep.
Yeah. And then he comes back in. Johnny's out. What does he do? Bangs a three right in the first part of the. That says a lot about his character.
Yes, it
about
does.
What he's about. And how he focuses and believes in himself and this team. And it's such a great thing to see. And again, when you go against a team like Michigan and you have guys, not just the 5 that are starting that are awesome, but you have everyone on the bench acting like they're about to start in the NBA, whether they're coming off the bench in overtime or they're coming off. It's hard to beat a team like that. It's hard to beat a team like that.
Nothing like confidence. And shout out to Coach Cronin for empowering the fellas and getting them to this point, because for a guy like David Singleton, it's easy just to kind of tank it. You could be like, man, this is a bunch of BS. You know how the athletes go, hey man, forget this stuff. But no, he's been locked in. I'm watching his body language, and that's what I can really tell. I'm like, okay, Singleton's just missing shots. He's into it. He's engaged. What, as far as like, if you could point out one thing about tomorrow's game that UCLA absolutely has to win the battle of, to win the game, what would it be?
That'd be tough, but I honestly, it's kind of sounds kind of crazy with this team, but I would say on the glass, we need to out rebound them. They're bigger than we are.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to play defense. I mean, look what we did to BYU. Look what we did out of Alabama last night on the 3-point line. We're going to defend. Yeah, but if we can rebound the ball and out rebound them on both the offense and defensive glass, I think we not walk away with it, but I think we come out victorious. And one other thing Michelle and I were talking about last night is we're pregame meal with, Cronin's brother, and we're sitting there, and Michelle looks at me and she goes, these 4 letters, the Elite Eight's great, but when you go to UCLA, you don't expect to go to the Elite Eight. You expect to win a national championship. And that's what she learned when look at that. You're showing it. When she showed up on campus at 91, which to me is still the best women's volleyball team ever, Natalie Williams, Elaine Youngs, it's one of the greatest teams. She's freshman on this team.
I didn't know she was on that team. Okay.
Yeah, that was her freshman year. And the funny thing is, you talk about being kindred spirits, but the day she won the national championship her freshman year was my 21st birthday. And I was actually there watching. I was there celebrating with UCLA and other folks on the men's side, and I'm watching my soon-to-be wife win a national championship. But she said the first day she walked into practice, she was scared to death because it was not like, okay, guys, let's get better. It was like, we're winning the national championship. That's what we do here at UCLA. We win national championships, and that's what we're playing for. And so we're playing against Alabama last night, and she's like, we're UCLA. They need to beat us.
Right.
We're a UCLA basketball program that has won 11 national championships. Alabama's an unbelievable football program, and they are great in basketball too. But they got to beat us. We're here to win the national championship. So, coming from Northridge, I'm not really used to that. We sure tried to win the national championship, but it's a great feeling, and it's such a amazing brother and sisterhood you guys have being a part of the UCLA alumnus program, and just the athletes that have played there and competed. The text chain she's on with Holly McPeak and Natalie and Elaine,
incredible,
Marissa, and I mean they're just constantly texting, not just through this with birthdays and just staying, and that's connected. Why connected, and that's why I love sports. Right, that's one thing I'm so grateful that I got to play at the level I did. Is we have our friends forever. And forever because of that. Brothers, sisters that would go to do anything for you if you needed it. And they're just so proud, and the pride of being a Bruin and the pride of seeing their school, win and compete is pretty cool.
Absolutely. Well, Coley, thank you so much for joining the show. Big game tomorrow. We'll be all pulling for you guys, for the Bruins, our Bruins, to make it to the Final Four. Thank you so much, and I look forward to chopping it up with you at another time.
I would look forward to it, and thanks for having me. Very grateful to be on it, and keep doing what you're doing. It's great. We love it.
Thank you, sir. I'll
Go
talk
Bruins.
to you soon. Go Bruins, baby.
Fours up.
Coley Kyman.